I'm Cynthia, a software engineer in Boston with a scar on my face that's a constant reminder of the family drama I've endured. It all came to a head at my younger sister Lily's engagement party. I never thought my own mother, Mrs. Thompson, would throw scalding coffee at me just because I refused to give them $50,000 for the wedding. As I sat in my car outside the hospital that night, the shock and pain were almost too much to bear. I couldn't believe what had just happened. The people who were supposed to love me most had shown their true colors, and I was left with a physical and emotional wound that would take a long time to heal. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, our family seemed normal on the surface. My father was a hard, working mechanic, and my mother was a homemaker. But behind closed doors, there was a lot of tension. My mother always had high hopes for me, pushing me to excel in school. I was the one who took advanced classes and spent hours studying. Meanwhile, Lily, who was 4 years younger, was allowed to do whatever she wanted. She got praise for the smallest achievements and seemed to have my mother's unconditional love. When I was 18, my father passed away suddenly from a heart attack. Our world fell apart. We soon discovered that he had been struggling with debt, and my mother, who had never worked outside the home, had to take a job at a local grocery store. The financial strain was overwhelming. My mother started telling me that I needed to make something of myself, that I was the family's hope for a better future. I worked part-time at a diner while studying for college entrance exams. Every penny I earned went towards the household expenses or my college fund. Lily, on the other hand, was excused from any responsibilities. My mother would say that Lily was too sensitive to deal with the stress. I got into Stanford University with a full scholarship. I was over the moon, thinking that this would finally make my mother proud. But when I showed her the acceptance letter, she just said, "Well, at least we won't have to worry about paying for it." Moving to California for college was like a breath of fresh air. I finally had some freedom from my mother's expectations. I made friends who valued me for who I was, not for what I could achieve. During my junior year, Lily dropped out of community college, saying it wasn't for her. My mother didn't seem disappointed at all. Instead, she supported Lily in her various short-lived jobs and funded her apartment. After graduating with honors, I landed a great job at a tech company in Boston. Within a few years, I was promoted to a senior position and had stock options. I paid off my student loans and bought a nice apartment. I had worked so hard for my financial independence, and it was precious to me. But the growing financial gap between me and my family created a lot of tension. Whenever I visited home, my mother would show me off to the neighbors as my daughter, the Stanford graduate, but then she'd make comments about how I had forgotten my roots and was too good for the family. Lily was always in and out of jobs and relationships, and my mother was always there to support her emotionally and financially. The first time my mother asked me for money was when I was 26. She called late at night, saying that Lily's car had broken down and she needed a new one. I knew where this was going. From then on, the requests kept coming. It started with small things like helping with rent, and then it became more and more demanding. Each time I refused or set a limit, my mother would use emotional manipulation, saying that I was selfish and that the family had supported me all my life. Then Lily met Alex. Alex came from a wealthy family in Boston. His family owned a large investment firm and had mansions in different parts of the country. When Lily first mentioned him, I was skeptical. But my mother was over the moon. She started posting every little detail about Alex on social media, talking about his Ivy League education and his expensive hobbies. 6 months into their relationship, Alex proposed at a fancy restaurant in Boston. Lily called me, screaming with excitement. I was genuinely happy for her. But 2 days later, my mother called me at work. Without any preamble, she said, "We need to talk about your contribution to the wedding. Alex's family is investing a lot, and they expect us to match it." I was shocked. I said I was willing to help with something specific, like the flowers or the photography. My mother laughed coldly and said that Alex's family had already arranged for the best in the business. She then mentioned the amount of $50,000. That was a huge sum for me, most of my savings. I firmly said no, that I could contribute $5,000 and help with the planning. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then my mother said, "I should have known. You've always been selfish when it comes to your sister." And she hung up. Over the next few weeks, I was bombarded with texts and calls from both my mother and Lily. The family group chat was filled with passive, aggressive comments about the wedding expenses. The engagement party invitation arrived. It was a beautiful, expensive-looking invitation to a luxury hotel in Boston. I debated whether to go, but I decided that I would be there for Lily, be polite to Alex's family, and stand firm on my financial boundaries. When I arrived at the party, the opulence took my breath away. Alex's parents were dressed in designer clothes, and every detail of the party screamed money. As I circulated, relatives I hadn't seen in years were suddenly very interested in my career and how much money I made. Lily was radiant in her dress, but when I approached her, her smile faded. She pulled me aside later and said, "What are you doing? Mom told me you're refusing to help with the wedding. Do you know how this makes us look to Alex's family?" I tried to explain my position, but she wouldn't listen. She said that Alex's family expected both families to contribute equally, and they were putting in $100,000. I suggested that maybe their expectations needed to be adjusted, but Lily just rolled her eyes and said I was selfish. As the night went on, the pressure from Alex's family and my relatives increased. My mother cornered me near the refreshment table and said, "This is embarrassing. Alex's family is asking about our contribution. You need to step up." I stood my ground and said that $50,000 was not possible. My mother's face contorted with anger. She hissed, "This is your sister's chance at a good life. Alex's family has connections. This wedding is an investment in her future." I replied quietly that I didn't see marriage that way. That's when she exploded. She grabbed my arm and started yelling about how I was ungrateful and how the family had supported me. I tried to pull away, but she reached for a coffee cup and threw the scalding liquid in my face. The pain was unbearable. Chaos erupted around us. People gasped and backed away. My mother immediately started saying it was an accident, that I had bumped into her. Lily's only concern was that the party was ruined. I was taken to the bathroom by Alex's mother, who was kind enough to help me. But Lily just said, "You've ruined everything. Just go." I left the party in a daze, driving to the hospital in shock. The hospital staff was horrified when I told them what had happened. They treated my burn, which was a second-degree burn, and gave me medication. Over the next few days, I received no concern from my family. Instead, my mother texted me, saying that I had caused a scene and that I owed everyone an apology. Lily also blamed me for everything. But then, Alex reached out to me. He said he had postponed the wedding because he was evaluating the situation. He showed me an email where my mother had told Alex's parents that I had promised the $50,000 and then backed out. It was completely false. Alex also revealed that he had discovered Lily had been lying about her financial situation and that my mother had been enabling her. He also mentioned that he had found out my mother had applied for a loan in my name using a property she claimed I had given her. I had never given her any property. I checked my credit report and found a pattern of financial fraud stretching back to my college years. My mother had used my identity to finance her and Lily's lifestyle. I was devastated, but also angry. I knew I had to take action. I contacted a lawyer and filed police reports. Word spread through the family, and some relatives condemned me for taking legal action against my mother, while others supported me. Alex's mother called me to say that Alex had ended his engagement with Lily. She also said that they were appalled by what had happened to me and that they would support me during the legal proceedings. My aunt, who had distanced herself from the family years ago, also reached out. She told me that my father had covered for my mother's financial mistakes for years, and it had ultimately stressed his heart. This revelation made me more determined than ever to break the cycle. I started sharing my story at work, and to my surprise, it led others to open up about their own family struggles. The scar on my face is fading, but it's a reminder of what I've been through. I've created a new life for myself, surrounded by people who respect my boundaries. I'm not sure if there will ever be reconciliation with my mother and Lily, but if it happens, it will be on my terms, based on honesty and respect. If you've ever faced similar family pressure, know that you're not alone. Stand up for yourself, and don't let anyone make you sacrifice your well-being for the sake of family harmony.